When we're designing our campaigns as a dungeon master, if you're using Dungeons and Dragons as a system, you have to account that system into your game design. So if you just throw down as a role-playing game and you're using D&D as the backdrop and all of a sudden things are out of balance or out of whack, it's because you're playing a game that's not intended for its original use. I'm not saying it can't be. What I'm saying is most of the times when D&D has problems with encounter balances, player balances, those types of problems, it's because we're using it for something it wasn't intended to. Intended to being the specific example, specific word I'm using. Dungeons and Dragons has a way that adventurers and days are supposed to go, what the life of an adventurer is supposed to look like. And so, because of the way things are written or intended, depends on how things balance. So, when we're looking at magic users and physical classes, they aren't balanced in all accounts. If we have one encounter with one bad guy, usually the magic user comes out on top. Usually. When you add something like a paladin, well, they are doing both magic and physical, right? When we do a fighter, the fighter usually gets outclassed when we're going straight against a magic class for one combat. And that's because of the way D&D was intended to be used. Again, intended to be used. And this is important. Because if you want to use Dungeons and Dragons for something that's not intended, then you do have to make those caveats, or things, you have to be okay with things being unbalanced. There is nothing wrong with unbalanced. There's nothing wrong with using D&D for something it wasn't intended to be used for. But that's what you have to consider. The intended usage of a system will influence the balance of a game when it's not used for its intended purposes. Keep that in mind. That's where most of our arguments and conflicts come into in our situation, is that the table you're playing at, chances are it is operating not on the grounds where Dungeons and Dragons was intended to. That is not a negative thing. This should not be a conflict. This should make you, as the Dungeon Master, realize what you will have to do as a Dungeon Master to make things either balanced or fair or unfair or unbalanced in a way that you want your game to go, and your players need to understand that as well. That is the balancing act. That's what creates most of our conflict and dialogue, is that we're coming from a different perspective and a different place.